Welcome, class, to Phylum Annelida Part 2. Here we're going to talk about how the annelids are classified. So there are three main classes that we will discuss. Class Polychaeta. Poly means many, chaeta means hairs. Class Oligochaeta. Oligo means few, and chaeta means hairs. And then class Hirudinea, and those are the leeches. So first, class Polychaeta, they have many setae, or many little hairs on the sides of them. They have what's called parapodia, and those are paired feet. They're characterized by their paired paddle-like appendages on each of their segments. So in the top drawing, you can see what it would look like as a drawing, and then the bottom is an actual polychaete worm. They kind of look fuzzy. Their appendages are tipped with bristles that help them move about. They live in the ocean, and they usually live around coral reefs. Here's some diagrams just showing you various parts of their anatomy, their head end, their rear end, and then a cross section through their center. And you can see how the parapodia are paired because there's two per segment, as you can see in the cross section there. Polychaete worms are predators, so they hunt for their food. You can see they have little jaws. They do have eyes on their little heads, and they're pretty good at getting their prey. Some of the polychaete worms, this is called a lugworm, they're more sessile. They don't really go around hunting actively. So this guy kind of digs a little hole in the sand and pokes his proboscis up to try and feed, and then hangs out back down underneath. Another different type of worm, you can see how their tentacles are floating up above the surface, and their gills are up there so they can exchange gases, and then stuff can swim into their tentacles, and then they catch it and eat it, and they're good to go. Here's another cool image of the feather duster worm. You would never know swimming around a coral reef that that's an actual worm. It's just the top part that you're seeing. And you can read in the little description how they can get into rocks and live in those. This is a type of polychaete they call it pelagic, and it means that they are just kind of drifters. They just kind of float around and catch prey that way. They don't actively swim after them. Okay, class Oligochaeta. This means they have very few setae. They have bristles, but they're shorter, and they're meant to help them burrow through the soil. The wide, fleshy part on them is called the clitellum, and they don't have parapodia, so they don't have paired little feet. They just have little setae. They are monoecious, meaning they have both male and female parts, but they don't self-fertilize, so they reproduce sexually. Earthworms are extremely important for soil fertility. If we didn't have earthworms, we wouldn't be able to grow crops or have plants that we do. They basically consume the dirt and decaying material in the soil and convert it into very nutrient high soil for plants. Their burrowing also creates air pockets so that water and oxygen and gases like carbon dioxide too can get to the roots of the plants. And their tunnels loosen soil so the roots can also grow more easily through the soil. And there's a little phrase there from Aristotle calling earthworms the intestines of the earth. They kind of are. They provide nutrients to the plants. Here's the scientific name for the earthworm, Lumbricus terrestris. They help enrich the soil, like we said. especially in this area where we have a lot of agriculture there, we rely heavily upon earthworms. A couple external structures, you will be identifying these when we dissect our earthworms. They have a prostomium and in their mouth. The prostomium kind of surrounds the mouth area. I told you the fleshy part, that wider section, is called the clitellum. And they're pointing out the little setae. You'll be able to feel them better than see them when you dissect your worms. And then the anus, because they have a one-way digestive tract. Here's the diagram that you have in your notes, so you can go ahead and pause and label the important body parts, because you will be identifying most of these during our dissection. This is a cross-section just showing you the coelom inside and how it houses all of their different organs. Their body wall. They do have two types of muscle, the longitudinal and the circular muscle, to help them move and swim and crawl the way that they all do. Okay, class Hirudinea, the leeches, they don't have any setae. They have a sucker on their front end and their back end so that they can hang on to their prey. Most of them live in freshwater. They can feed off of invertebrates. They like body fluids. They will suck blood. There's different species of leeches for different species of prey, or host in this case, because they are parasites. There's usually no more, they're not bigger than 6 centimeters. There are some tropical species that get up to about 30 centimeters. And to give you an idea, 30 centimeters is the length of one of our rulers. After they attach to a host, they release a substance called hirudin into the wound, and that keeps the blood from clotting. And a leech can take in up to 10 times its weight of blood during a single feeding. That's a lot of blood that they can consume. This is one of the tropical species that can get rather large. I don't know if it's actually feeding on this person. I hope he's not letting it eat his blood. This is a good diagram where you can see the two suckers hanging on to this person's, I'm assuming it's their arm. They have found some very important medical uses for leeches. And I think I'll have time to show you one of the videos where they can treat joint pain using leeches. Sometimes they can use them when they're reattaching a severed finger or toe. They actually attach the leech to the part that had come off to try and draw blood into the area from the rest of the body, hoping to reinstill circulation. Sometimes that works really well.